Welcome to lesson 4.6. Our objective is to solve division number stories and interpret remainders. So in lesson 4.6, we're going to talk about what do we do with the remainder and how do we interpret a remainder. So that's why I have my big question mark here. What do we do with the remainder? So here's our math message. It says there are 100 minutes of computer time for 8 students to share equally. How many minutes should each student get? So if this was you and there were 100 minutes of time, we know we have a division problem, okay? So we are aware of that, but what are we going to do with this? So I think what we need to talk about is how are we going to interpret this? So if I have, my pen doesn't want to work here. I'm trying to get it to work. Okay, so if I have 100 minutes, I know I'm going to do some division with it. All right, so first of all, I'm going to read the problem. Use symbols to draw a picture that organizes the given information. So I have 100 minutes, and they chose to draw a square up here at the top, and that divided it into 8. So how much is in each? They called it M. So they said with our problem, M equals 100 divided by 8. And so what they did was they did 100, and another example of a picture is the M's, 8 M's, and find the minutes per student, or 8 times what would equal 100. So the steps in solving problems are to read it first and use your symbols. Number 2 says read the problem again and decide what you want to find. Write this in a word or short phrase and represent it with a variable such as M for number of minutes. And they did that. So M for number of minutes. Okay, and number 3 says write a number sentence showing how the variable and other numbers are related. And so we did that up here, and then we also did that down here. Oops, I'm moving that around. That's not so good. Hang on 1 second. I love my pen, but all of a sudden it moves things around once in a while. And then number 4 says solve the number sentence, so obviously, and interpret the quotient and the remainder. Decide what to do about it, or I should say decide what to do about the remainder. So let's talk about that. So on this problem, let's go on to working through it on the next page. So it says 8 into 100, and they did the work, and they did long division, and they came up with 12, remainder 4. So they said the solution is 12.5 minutes, or 12.5 minutes, or 12 minutes, 30 seconds per student. So they said change the 4 minutes into seconds. So 4 times 60 equals 240, and then the 240 divided by 8 kids or 8 students would give you 30 seconds per student. Divide the remainder among the 8 students. So in this case, we decided to use the remainder and add it to each of the students' minutes. So each of the 8 students are going to get 12 minutes, but because we are using it all, and instead of giving somebody else all the time, it makes it fair to give each student another half of a minute, or 12.5 minutes. So in this case, we used the remainder. We represented it as a decimal or fraction or as a whole number. And in this case, it's really like 30 seconds. But again, what do I do with that remainder? What can I do with that remainder? So let's go on to this. It says for each number story, it says to draw a picture and write an open sentence. Use a division algorithm to solve the problem. An algorithm means to write out the problem. What is the problem? Tell what the remainder represents first, and then decide what to do with it. What is the remainder actually? And then what are we going to do with that remainder? So let's do this practice. So it says compact discs are on sale for $9, including tax. How many can you buy with 30? So let's go back and look at we read it. We're going to use symbols, okay? And it says read the problem again and decide what to do. And then we have to write a number story. So we can go back here now and we can think about it. We read it. Compact discs are on sale for $9, including tax. How many can you buy for 30? Okay, so if we drew a picture, these are 9 CDs, okay? So if they're $9, we could draw a CD here, a CD here. So this is $9, and this is $9. Each CD is $9. Now, the question is this is like 30 divided by 9 equals C for CD, or equals, yeah, we'll do CD, equals CD. The compact discs. Now, I can draw several. It says compact discs are on sale for $9, including tax. How many can you buy with 30? Well, I could have $30 sitting here too. Now, I know 9 times 2 is 18, and 9 times 3 is 27. So again, I could do my problem like this as well. So if I go back, I could do a multiplication problem. Now, this one, we had the 100 minutes and we did 8 equal parts, but we're dealing with parts, not money in this case. So again, I could do 9 times what equals 30. So let's go back to that, because the other way of writing this would be 9 times C equals 30. And it's probably much easier for us just to have one variable. So let's do that. Get rid of that. So there we go. Okay, so if I know my multiplication or my division, and I divide 9 into 30. Now, I wouldn't necessarily have to do this because I know my multiplication facts, but I'm going to. I know that 9 times 3 equals 27. And I know that's the closest I can get without going over. I'm going to borrow, and I get 2 over here, and 10 minus 7 is 3, so I'm left with a remainder of 3. Now, what am I going to do with this remainder? I can buy 3 CDs, okay, but I have $3 left. So what do I do with that $3? And in this case, guys and girls, we're going to ignore this remainder because we can't buy another CD because we don't have enough money. So this one we ignore. So we ignore it, okay? Now, my picture up here, you can draw your picture in many different ways. You know, I have $30, and I could have drawn $30 here too. To represent, I could make dollar bills, whatever works the easiest for you. And I drew CDs, and I could have kept going just to make sure we knew which each was cost. And I could have done it like this too. I could have put 18 here instead because 2 were 18, and I could have done 3 at 27. So that would have worked too. All different ways to look at it. So let's go back and check our objective and see how we did on our lesson, and to see if we met our objective. And it says to solve division number stories and interpret remainders. And I think we did that. We need to think about the remainder and what we can do with it. Now, in this case, in this problem, we could use the remainder to give everybody else a half of a minute more, okay? But with the CD problem, there wasn't anything we could do because we didn't have enough money to buy a CD, another CD, so we ignore that problem. So great work. We're going to talk a lot more about what we do with remainders in class. Thanks for listening. And guys and girls, I didn't really have you take many notes on this lesson, but I do want you to understand what to do with the remainder. So don't worry about notes for this lesson, but be thinking about remainders and what we do with them. Have a great evening.